Right. 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 Right, exactly, right. And that's perfectly acceptable, but it's not very convenient. And so there are control schemes that allow you to sample the outside conditions and bring that back into a PLC or bring that back into some type of control system. I would, yes. Mm-hmm. But things like separating water and sewer to make sure that your charges on water and sewer are disconnected. In other words, you want to make sure that all of your water a lot of times doesn't go to the sewer, and you only want to be metered or charged for the water that goes to the sewer. So if you're using, let's say, buildings and grounds watering lawns and stuff like that, I would get that off the sewer real quick. In most municipalities right now are much more tolerant of having these conversations, again, because the economy is in the tank. And everybody's struggling. I mean, everybody is. And that's why I go back to the landfill gas job. The landfill gas job is a wonderful, absolute guarantee of a revenue stream to the city. So when you do a project like that, they're a lot more kind of loose. You know, they're more relaxed about doing these other kind of projects because you gave them something. Okay? Everybody wins. Everybody comes away from the table with a win. And of course, we talked about biodegradable materials through food services. Now, this is a non-traditional, of course, energy use, but it's can be very significant depending on size of your cafeterias and so on, and being able to offset other products or services, I guess, that you might buy elsewhere. In other words, soil amendments. Going back to the waste vegetable oil is a good one. And again, these are excellent programs to get students involved in. Typically, the land-grant colleges. I don't know if any of y'all are land-grant, but okay. And so your food services or your ag services would handle these types of projects. My guess is they probably already are. And again, wonderful projects to pull together for the whole university. But of course, your data retrieval doesn't really mean anything unless you know how the buildings were set up to run. So in other words, what kind of stat settings do you have? What kind of lighting intensities do you have? You know, what kind of flow? Do you have flow restriction at all? Is a vehicle fleet of a problem for y'all? Is it of sufficient size based on the Pareto from the previous slide? You'd be surprised on how vehicle fleet fuel use really drives carbon footprints of various businesses. It's amazing. And so when you gather your data, you want to gather the settings so that you can begin to make some very, very simple changes. And I mentioned about the water flow in this particular manufacturing plant. But I thought, well, gosh, if water's a problem, why, you know, and we're spending so much of this heat of natural gas on simply heating the facility, keeping people warm. I proposed to the plant management, I said, look, why don't we just buy everybody sweatshirts and turn the thermostats down? Well, that's exactly what they did. They laughed. I said, wait a minute, this is a perfectly acceptable energy conservation opportunity. What's everybody like? They like a little monogram, something that, you know, that they can show their colors. Why not? These are non-traditional, folks. These are very, very non-traditional. But they work. I can assure you they work. If you have a lot of open space that you're trying to condition, I sure wouldn't do it with forced hot air. I'd do it with spot infrareds. Because I don't want to heat the whole volume of the facility. I only want to heat spots where people are. You're right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's what we were talking about here. Is the operation of a building is critical. There's no doubt. I mean, somebody keeps their foot in the gas, and some people drive more conservatively. You're absolutely right, and it's you know, and maybe simple things like, you know, you got to be careful with some of this stuff, you know, storm windows or, you know, locks on the windows. You got to be careful with that ingress and egress and so on. And you don't want to conserve your system so tightly that you freeze your fire systems either. And so, I mean, using spot-directed gas-fired infrareds can be a real challenge of not freezing a fire system. So be careful with those if you're in some deep, you know, some greater than 3,000 degree day climates like we are here. Okay, so what to do? Let's take a look at each of the reduce, reuse, recycle. Of course, reduce is turn it down or turn it off. And really, once you get your data and you kind of look at it and you begin to do your component by component review of either buildings or whatever fleet, you want to improve the performance. Of course, these are the usual suspects: insulation, infiltration, exfiltration of plug-in leaks. You know, getting the weather stripping done right. And here again, we talked about operation. You know, are chillers running all night? Are people there till all hours of the night? Is there ways to maximize occupancy in a building that you only have one building that operates through, you know, different late hours of the night? Flow restriction, combined heat and power, we talked about that through physical plant operations and so on. And to some degree, we talked about the reuse side of this as well. And of course, this is the symbiotic relations inside and outside your campuses, and whether or not this is, like I say, from food service or developing a landfill gas project or waste vegetable oil from inside your cafeteria services or the community as well. I mean, this is kind of the whole enchilada, and there's more things to this. You want to eliminate disposables. You want to repair stuff. Like I said, I really believe this, and I live this because I keep my vehicles forever, and I repair my own home. I repair my cars, my truck, and keep them going. Just keep them going. And if you'd like any validation of that, I'll be happy to show you the truck in the garage. But and then of course the recycled content, metals, paper, plastic. And then again, getting back to composting, biofuels, and so on. Some of the recycle market has come back. The recycle market tanked with the financial collapse. It has come back. I've been told. I'm currently working in Tennessee with a waste hauler, and he assures me that the waste paper market is back with a vengeance, which surprised me a little bit. I didn't expect that. And my guess is your facilities has a lot of waste paper. And so, again, metals, paper, plastic, composting, and biofuels, and so on. And of course, in closing, a conserved system is by far and away the most economical system, and it doesn't take a lot of money to do this. A conserved system has the smallest conventional environmental footprint. A conserved system has the smallest conventional carbon footprint. And a conserved system is the first step towards sustainability. Conservation and sustainability are two entirely different topics. Conservation, however, is the first step in that path. So be happy to talk about that at some point. If anybody wants to get into that conversation, I'm here this evening. If anybody wants to continue this conversation, be happy to continue it. So thank you very much, folks. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.